past few years, I've made hundreds of tracks as a behind-the-scenes producer. Some months, I finished up to 10 professional-sounding projects. And you know what made all of that possible? This amazing FL Studio template I put together, along with the workflow I developed for working fast while keeping everything organized and looking nice. It took me years to perfect, but I'm about to show you how you can set it up in just a few minutes. This is going to be a total game changer for your music production. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. By the way, I've actually created 3 different versions of the template. There's the beast I use for all my bangers, and 2 more. I'll explain their differences and how you can download them all at the end of the video. Don't miss out. First of all, what makes a template special? When it comes to music production, there are 2 crucial elements for an effective template: speed and organization. The ability to translate your ideas into action quickly is essential. Whether it's a MIDI file you created last night, a melody you recorded on your phone, or a track you heard on Spotify that sparked your creativity, your template should provide all the tools you need immediately. This way, you can get your ideas down without any delay. Number 2, organization. While speed is important, organization is equally crucial. Keeping your project organized ensures that as it grows, you can still find and edit everything efficiently. Proper color coding, naming, and grouping allow you to manage even the most complex projects with ease. Balancing these 2 aspects, speed and organization, is key to a productive workflow. To illustrate this, let me show you one of my recent projects created using my main FLP template. We'll dive into the details to reveal the secrets behind it. There are 3 main parts to consider. The playlist. This is where all the MIDI patterns and sounds are arranged, along with automation. It's your project's timeline and a visual map of your track. The mixer. Here you add effects and process all the sounds in your track. Properly routing and grouping tracks in the mixer can save you time and keep your project tidy. The channel rack. This is where you add and organize your sound sources, whether they are instruments, synths, or drums. Keeping this area neat is crucial for a faster workflow. Now, let's break down each part individually and see how they contribute to an efficient music production process. To keep things efficient, I always organize my sounds and automations into 8 main groups. This method helps maintain clarity and ease of access as the project grows. I also make sure to have some time markers at the top for faster arrangement. First group, master automation. I place all the master automations here, such as volume or high and low cut filters, which are useful, for example, in build-ups right before a drop to make the drop hit harder. For grouping sounds, I divide my instruments and synths into 2 groups. One containing everything related to the drop, and another with all sounds for the breakdown. I learned this trick from the master, Maddox.
Another thing I do, I try to combine all the drop sounds, so that's this whole part, and do the breaks separately. So here's the break. And this makes it really easy to copy-paste parts later on, and you can just select the whole break, copy-paste, and that's it.
Also, another important tip is to place each automation clip directly underneath its corresponding sound. This makes it easy to find and edit automations later on. Another important grouping tip I can share is to group your kick with bass instead of with drums. I'll explain more about the benefits of this later in the mixer section. For grouping FX sounds, I divide them into 4 subgroups. First is all the noise-based sounds like sweeps and swooshes. Next are low elements like impacts. The third group is ambience. And lastly, we have risers. At the bottom, I have a group named reference. This is where I place reference tracks that inspire me or that I use for mixing and mastering. Comparing my track with a professionally mixed one helps ensure quality. By organizing your playlist this way, you can streamline your workflow, making it easier to navigate and modify your project as it develops. One very important thing to mention: while working, you don't need to change the color and names of sounds, MIDI patterns, and automations. That's just too much and makes production slower and harder. Instead, just put them in groups that you've already named and colored in your template. Okay friends, now before showing you the mixer, I want to mention that making these videos takes a lot of time and effort. So if you want to support me, please like this video and consider subscribing. Also, if you want to be a legend, you can visit my PayHip store. There, I provide FL Studio templates for different genres, and soon I'll be offering sample packs and even courses. I really appreciate your support. Now let's move on to the big guy: the mixer panel. First of all, as you can see, everything corresponds to the playlist with the same group colors, but not in the same order. I order the mixer based on frequency of use, so it's easier to access when producing fast. Each main group has a bus channel, and some mixers are routed to that bus. However, some groups like bass or leads have even more buses. This allows for mixing and processing the main sounds at a more professional level. On the right, we have some send effects like reverbs and delays. I always use these when producing to glue sounds together and put them all in one space. Using sends also makes production much faster. Another tip for the mixer is to have some broad use channels to route multiple similar sounds. For example, you might have a channel with just a low cut on it. This is very useful for high frequency sounds like sweep effect, or you could have a channel with generic reverb. I always route ambiances and most similar sounds to this type of channel. These techniques help streamline your workflow and give you more control over your mix. Another useful trick relates back to the playlist section. Remember when I told you to group kick and bass together? This grouping allows you to process them on a bus in the mixer. For example, I always like to compress kick and bass together or add subtle saturation. This ensures the low end of my track is very balanced and stands out. And obviously, a huge part of having a perfect template, preloaded plugins. As you can see, I've already loaded some plugins on each mixer and bus channel. This is crucial for working fast when producing. Most producers, including myself, do most of the mixing while producing. After making hundreds of songs, I know I'll use the same plugins and processing repeatedly, so why not preload them? This way, when producing, I can just tweak parameters without searching for a compressor, EQ, or sidechain LFO. A final mixer tip: have a pre-master channel that all the buses route to. Here, you can add filters, adjust volume, and use effects like Endless Smile. I do the main mastering process on the master channel itself. These strategies save time and streamline your workflow, allowing you to focus on creativity rather than technical setup. And finally, it's time to discuss the channel rack and preloaded synths and instruments. Some producers like to have instruments and synths in their template, but to be honest, I don't prefer this approach. I work with many different genres, and for each project, I typically end up using different sources. That's why I decide which plugin to use, like Serum, Nexus, or Diva, when I start producing, but it's up to you. If you always use the same one or two plugins, you might want to have them preloaded. Here's a tip for better organization in the channel rack. Use filters. As you can see, you can have multiple filters for each sound. For example, I like to separate my sounds into drop synths and breakdown synths. This way, when I'm working on the drop, I can filter the channel rack to only show drop synth. And here it is, guys. This was the showcase of my FL Studio project template and how I use it to produce over 10 tracks each month. You can use this as guidance to make your own template, or if you're just not in the mood to do all of this yourself, don't worry, I've got you covered. I'm offering you a pack for template. First, the main template I just showed you in this video. It contains all the tools I use for making each song. Everything's set up and ready to use. But obviously, to open it, you must have all the plugins I have, which are mostly third-party. But if you don't have those plugins, don't worry. I made an alternative version that does exactly the same thing as the main FLP, but with FL Studio stock plugins. You can open this easily without any third-party plugin. And finally, there are 2 more projects without plugins. First, a template with only 4 send effects, but no plugins and mixers. Second, a template completely empty of plugins, just with color coding, grouping, and automations, ready for you to add your own preferred plugins. If you're interested, you can get this amazing FLP pack for only $5 on my PayHip store. By doing this, you'll support my work, which I appreciate a lot. And that's it, guys. Hope you like it. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope to see you again. Peace.